Hi there, thanks for joining me. So, we're at the end of the month, and it is time for another quarterly update for my translation projects. In my last video, I was a little burned out, right? I was just not really into it. I definitely wanted to do, translation project work, but I just wasn't feeling it. And, I'm still not 100% back into it, I guess, but I managed to find something that, that, I don't know, relit the fire a little bit, something I could dig my teeth into a little. So that was dumping scripts. I just dumped a whole bunch of scripts over the past several months. So let's talk about those, and the kind of actual translation work that I did too. A little bit of that. For starters, the scripts I dumped were largely on the PC Engine. I had been dumping some scripts for the Game Gear so that I could translate games on that system, and I've been, if you guys have been following these videos, I've been dumping some scripts for Famicom games and this and that. A little bit of Mega Drive, but the PC Engine I hadn't dug into a lot. So I think what got me started was some Mahjong games. I don't know exactly what piqued my interest. I think, on some level, like, I've always been curious about some of these genres of Japanese game that you find, on all these Japanese systems. Pachinko games, horse racing games, just these various gambling games and maybe board games and things that aren't as necessarily as popular in the West, but end up having lots of video game versions. I guess Mahjong, traditionally has had a lot of strip versions and things like that. And I guess I'm not above a nice like pin-up drawing or something like that. So, that can contribute to it, I suppose. But mostly I'm curious to like learn how to appreciate some of these games more. So, I took a look at Mahjong Gakuen. This is a strip Mahjong game. It actually has two versions. There's Mahjong Gakuen and Mahjong Gakuen Mild. Now, I don't know even exactly how Face, I believe, is the developer, even got away with publishing this for the PC Engine if it was unlicensed, and they just did it anyway. I think of them more for the games like Honey in the Sky and Honey on the Road. But at any rate, I found the text encoding for this and dumped a script for it. It does seem like it has nudity in it, or at least some sort of scenes where the characters will undress if you win in Mahjong enough against them. But yeah, I mean, it's a strip Mahjong game. There's not much else to say about it. I also took a look at Mahjong Haoden Kaiser's Quest. Now, this is, I would say, simultaneously, a bit more tame, and not tremendously impressive. I like the setting. It goes for this medieval fantasy JRPG setting, which I think is pretty cool. But I don't know that it's much more than kind of a simple RPG overworld where you go from point to point and play Mahjong, battles. You do play against, these beautiful ladies, and you get little, pictures, kind of pin up pictures in between if you win. There is, I don't think, any nudity in this. It's pretty tame, all in all, but another Mahjong game that you could play on the PC Engine. So after tackling a couple Mahjong games, I think I'd kind of gotten the bug for dumping scripts again. So I was like, I get on a roll, and I just keep going. So I decided to, look at some of the other games that might have some text to them, right? There was a text adventure. It's called Chikuden ya Toubei Kubikiri Yakata Yori. So, maybe Yakata Yori. So that is, it's like one of those samurai ninja kind of historical Japanese adventure games. I think it might be a little more, have some fantasy elements to it. Think like Ninja Scroll and things like that. It looks pretty cool. It has a cool look to it. The look reminds me of Ninja Scroll a little bit too. Is it any good? I have no idea. It was kind of fun to dump a script for. That was about it. I kind of forget. I think there was a dictionary in it. There might be kanji to it. I don't really remember. If there are some images here, you can probably tell at a glance. But anyway, I dumped a script for that. I don't know how many K. It's a pretty big script actually. It's 268K text file. So that's sizable. That's like the size of a decent full-sized RPG for one of these like 8-bit systems. So it's got a pretty big script, honestly. I mean, for a text adventure though, sometimes they're gonna but it seems it's particularly chunky. So that seems interesting just for that. Next up, I dumped a script for Wallaby, Usagi no Kuni no Kangaroo Race. So this is another one of those miscellaneous genre, basically a horse racing game. But I like that this, is a little more whimsical with its subject matter instead of just being here's a horse racing game simulation. It's it's got this whimsical world. You have the Usagi no Kuni, would be something like the Rabbit Kingdom, or Rabbit Land, Rabbit Land's Kangaroo Race. Now, of course, it's called the Wallaby, so I don't know if they're wallaby racing or kangaroo racing or both, or I don't really know. I think those are two different things. But at any rate, it's a charming kind of sort of looking atmosphere to the game, and I think that's fun. I think there's an intentional contrast maybe between the subject matter of you would look at gambling as maybe kind of like a vice, sort of a maybe even a shady activity that is not really on the up and up, and how you have these cute rabbit characters, and I think there was like the cigarette smoking koala and stuff like that at the ticket counter or something. It looks fun. I don't know if there might be an opportunity to to have some fun with the dialogue in the game too. It's not a big script. I think it's about 50K. So I would call that a medium-sized script. So it's not like just an action game that really only has a handful of lines of text to it. It's got a little text to it, but it's not it's not like that big RPG or that big adventure game like that 200 over 250K of that last text adventure. I dumped a script for Tsurupika Hagemaru Mezase Tsuruseko no Akashi. And I don't really know what Tsuruseko no Akashi is, but Tsurupika Hagemaru is some kind of manga anime, I believe, so I'd say this is a licensed game. This is I think the only script that I didn't dump for the PC Engine. This is actually a Famicom game. And I apologize, I've dumped so many scripts here. I'm not going to remember details about all of these. Something, I saw this game somehow. I was doing a search on Twitter, or I was watching a YouTube video or something. Somehow I saw something about Tsurupika Hagemaru, and I was like, oh, that looks like a cute game, or like there was an interesting screenshot, or I don't know what it was, but somehow I specifically picked this game out and was like, well, let me just see if I can dump a script for it. I think it has kind of like a sort of text adventure slash like side-scrolling platformer game to a certain extent, so I think that was interesting to me as well. Not that I particularly like platformers more than anything else, but it just seemed kind of fun. So yeah, I just went ahead and dumped a script for it, and it's not a big script either. I don't think it's like about 30K, so it's not even as big as that Wallaby game there. So but it looks kind of cute. So next up, more PC Engine stuff, of course. 21Amon Mezase Hotel O. So you're aiming to be the Hotel King. 21Amon is it's like some sort of manga anime by the person who did Doraemon. I think it's basically set in the exact same universe. So or maybe Doraemon is set in the 21Amon universe. It's like some kind of sci-fi-ish show, but it's it's about hotels. I think this dude that's from a family that runs hotels or something like that. So whatever. It looks like a board game. So that's kind of fun. I mean, it's not like I play board games in particular on retro systems, but if you had somebody to play it with, I could see. I mean, people play, what is it, Mario Party? I think it's been something that people have enjoyed for decades. So it's kind of fun. Next up, Fushigi no Yume no Alice. This is a game that I think has... Oh, actually, I skipped a game, so we'll have to go back to it. But anyway, I'll keep going with Fushigi no Yume no Alice. It's obviously based on, like, Alice in Wonderland type of thing. That's what, like, Alice in Wonderland is typically called, like, Fushigi no Kuni no Alice. So Fushigi no Yume no Alice is, like, Yume is dream. So it's like, instead of, like, Wonderland, it's more like Wonder Dream. Like, that's probably how I would literally, translate that. Alice in Wonder Dream. So, it's kind of, again, a whimsical Alice in Wonderland sort of game. It's also a platformer. It seems like it's probably pretty hard, and I think, people seem to be just a little more aware of it than some of these other random, Japanese games. I don't know if it's one of those things that was played on, like, Game Center CX or something like that. I don't really know. But at any rate, I dumped a script for it. I don't think it's very big. Yeah, it's only 3K, so it's a really small script, but it's a cute looking game. I've enjoyed the process of dumping these scripts, right? And not only that, but like, it's exciting to think that, especially a 3K script, like, it's going to not take very long to translate, and then somebody could conceivably make a translation patch for it, and there's another game that people could play in English that they couldn't before. I like that. Next up, Necros no Yosai. This actually is a really interesting looking game. This is an RPG, and I think these are all PC Engine HuCard games. They're not any of the CD games. But of those HuCard games, like, it seems like a lot of people are working on, the kind of the major RPGs that have come. There weren't even really that many RPGs. Some of them obviously were released on the TurboGrafx 16, and then, there were like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 RPGs on it. And it seems like, people are picking away at translation projects for those. But I don't know of anyone working on Necros no Yosai. And it's based on the equivalent of, like, what is it, Monster in My Pocket, basically, like from when I was a kid. It's like a little kid's licensed, collectible toy series. It's very similar to Bikudimon. I forget if I talked about that in one of my other videos, but Bikudimon is like, you buy, chocolate or something like that at the convenience store that has this, some collectible cards in it. The Necros no Yosai is like the exact same thing. I think Necros no Yosai was cool though because I think they were collectible, like little plastic figurines. They weren't, detailed or anything like that. Just a single color, plastic. But I think they did come with cards, and they also had basically rules on them, stats and things like that for your characters, so you could play a tabletop RPG out of it. Is how I understand it. I could be wrong, but that's basically the information I read led me to believe that. So this, doing a video game RPG out of this seems like a really logical, extension of that. And it seems pretty interesting. Obviously, a very distinctive art style because it's, it's from these kids' collectible stickers, essentially. So, because we're going back to, I think I mentioned Garbage Pail Kids in my past video. It's got like a different aesthetic than you'd find with some, kind of a standard anime or manga based game. So I think that alone is pretty interesting about it. And it's going to be a more sizable script, 162K, so that's a whole over 100K less than that other adventure game there. So that adventure game I think has a pretty hefty script, and this is, I don't know if this is like a small RPG, but it's definitely take a little effort to translate, but that might be fun. So lo and behold, I did forget to go back to that other game. Suffice to say, the game is called Katobi Takuhai-kun, which I think is something like Dash Delivery Boy. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a kind of delivery person simulation game. It looks pretty interesting, actually, kind of like the first Grand Theft Auto, the original one. You have this top-down city that you navigate around in with your little vehicle, and you basically do these delivery quests. It seems like you can upgrade your delivery vehicle, get different kinds of bikes and mopeds and that sort of thing. And yeah, you just sort of have like a story, quest after quest of delivering stuff to different places in the city. It seems like a cool game, actually. It also seems to be a little bit more well known than some of these other just random games, right? Another one that I may have been covered on Game Center CX or maybe a popular YouTuber covered it or something like that. I sort of get that impression, but I don't know that it's a really well-known game. But it looks pretty neat. So I dumped a script for that. It's not big. It's like 50K, so it's kind of another one of those medium-sized scripts. So it seems like there's a relatively fair amount of text to that too, so that should be pretty interesting to translate if I decide to translate that at some point. Next, I dumped a script for Genji Tsushin Agedama. I know nothing about this. I think it's some licensed platformer. So, again, something based on some sort of manga or anime. That's all I've got, man. Like, it looks kind of cute, and I was just going through a list. I'm like, well, let's see if I can dump this, and it was easy to dump. I think it's a 7K script, so pretty small. The game looks cool. I don't know if it's fun to play. I did dump scripts for 2 other face games, Hani in the Sky and Hani on the Road. Now, these are... they feature... It's a Haniwa, I think is what it's called, figurine. I don't actually know even what those are. It's some part of, some sort of Japanese traditional figurine, or it could be religious, or could just be, I don't know what. So do your own research on that, I guess. But I think another YouTuber, Pete Dorr, I remember did videos on, maybe reviewing these games or playing them or something like that. I think people are aware of them at least a little bit. They seem like fun games. They're like actiony, arcadey style games. They're gonna have small scripts, I think. 8K each, so about the same as that Genji Tsushin Agedama. So just some little action games with a little teeny bit of text to them. Another Mahjong game. This one actually I thought looked the most interesting out of all the Mahjong games, probably just because it has, it has more meat to it. It's basically got this RPG mode, so it's called Mahjong Shinkaka Retsuden Mahjong Wars, and so the Mahjong Wars mode is where you play kind of a simulation, kind of a adventure. I don't really know what you call it. It's I guess more of an adventure game. Like you start off and you're talking to this guy, and he's like, okay, we want to go for the national championships or something like that. Like, don't quote me on that. I'm just kind of like paraphrasing. I don't remember what it is that you're doing, but you want to compete, I think, to be the best. So he's like, go to this Mahjong parlor, talk to so and so, and you're going to compete against her. So you go there, and the people there are like, oh no, she's disappeared. Like her sister was kidnapped, and she went to look for her, and she hasn't come back. So then you're basically, have a quest to go and find this character and help her, I guess, save her sister. And so you have to go look for her on this little world map, and there are like kind of NPCs roaming the world map, and you can bump into them and like fight Mahjong battles against them. But you sort of go through this story quest, and play through the game like that. I guess it looks really interesting. There was something like I don't think the script was challenging to dump, but I took a look at it and like I didn't find what I was looking for right off, so I kind of had to go back to it. But I did manage to dump a script for that. It is not actually a big script for what is a game that has like adventure and RPG elements to it. 29K, I would say that's kind of a medium to small script. So there might not be quite as much meat to it there as I'm thinking, but it's at least interesting for a mahjong game, and it isn't just like, hey, here's some strip mahjong. So I think that's there's something to be said for that. I dumped a script for Obochama-kun. I barely remember what Obochama-kun is. It looks like another one of those licensed sort of anime games. It's another like platforming game, right? So we've run into a handful of these on the system so far, and it kind of just seems like the same sort of thing you were seeing on other systems. Some sort of marketable property getting some type of just generic type of video game, a platformer, a board game, a mini game collection, something like that. So here we have Obochama-kun. Is it any better or worse than the other platform games on the PC Engine? I don't know. I have no idea. It's again a pretty small script, 9K. So that's some of the smaller scripts that I've dumped here. Another game I dumped a script for is Racing Damashi on, of course, the PC Engine. These are all PC Engine games. It's a racing game. I don't think it gets much more complicated than that. It has a little text to it. It's still a small script, but it's bigger than some of these platforming games. It's about 20K. It seems like there's some dialogue to it at the very least, or little bits of text to it. So, I'm always interested in a racing game that, I don't know if it has a little bit of a story to it, like that would be interesting, but it may or may not get that in depth. I'm not sure, but there's a script available for that. The next game I dumped a script for is called Rock On, and it seems like one of those things where it's either maybe like a bad pun, or maybe it was supposed to be Lock On. But anyway, it is a shoot 'em up. The PC Engine is kind of known for its shoot 'em ups, and I don't think I dumped a shoot 'em up script previous to this one for the PC Engine. It's kind of looks sort of like a cute 'em up, I want to say, but it doesn't have a very big script. I think it's like 6K. So yeah, not a whole lot of text to this, but that's, again, I think that those can make for easy and possibly even fun projects to work on, so that's pretty cool. Next up is Spiral Wave. Now, this one actually looked more interesting to me than a number of these other games. Probably one of the games I'm the most interested in. I did a little poking around on Japanese internet, and the consensus seems to be that the game is kind of, what they would call kusoge, like it's kind of a shovelware is basically what I translate that to, right? It's like kind of a bad game. But I think it's more like, not really shovelware, like no effort was put into it, but I think it's more just that like, it's not that good a game because it's really hard. Like, I guess you have these one-hit deaths, and they're really annoying, and it's hard to progress through the game. But it pretty much has two major modes. It's pretty much plays out like kind of a text adventure game, I think. And then there are also these battling sequences where you're fighting in like a first-person space combat, kind of like, I want to say Galaxy Force. So I think that looks really cool, like the sort of adventure game, or at least sort of text adventure elements to it seem really cool. It's actually a fairly large script. It's about 100K, a little over 100K, so it's not quite like one of those big text adventures or full, RPG scripts, but it's right up there. And it just makes me think, hey, man, I wonder if the story is any good, right? I wonder if, like, hidden in there is some sort of really interesting story. I don't know if it's based on anything. I think it's an original thing, but I kind of forget from what the research that I did on it. But anyway, that was kind of a fun. I'm curious to translate that, actually, just see what the story entails. I dumped a script for Stratego. This is based on a Western board game, strategy board game. I think it might be French in origin. Don't quote me on that. Something like that. It's European of some sort. But I actually did a video on dumping the script for this because there were like a couple little, I don't want to say unique, but just, a couple little things about it that I don't necessarily run into in most games that I dump scripts for. So I wanted to kind of let you guys know, some of the challenges that I overcame to dump a script for that game. So you guys can check that video out if you want. It seems like it's not a particularly embellished translation of the board game to the PC Engine. It seems pretty straightforward, but the board game, I'm sure, is fun, so I bet you it's at least interesting to play. I've never played Stratego before, but it's a little bit more of an abstracted kind of tactical, like, strategy game, I would say. With it seems like you have like war units, it's like you've got your generals and majors, and there's tanks and scouts and that sort of stuff, so it seems kind of cool. I dumped a script for a Takeda Shingen. This is I think it's based on some type of historical figure or or folk tale figure or something like that. But you basically play as that character, that kind of historical character. It's like this dude in this big set of samurai armor, and he's just going around fighting other samurai guys. I think there's different versions of this. There's like an arcade game, and then there's this I think it's a Famicom game, and there's this PC Engine game, all kind of featuring this character, this maybe historical figure of some sort. But suffice to say, it's basically just like a beat 'em up game. It doesn't have a very big script. 5K, I think that's literally the smallest script out of all these that I've translated, that I've dumped. But yeah, just another one on the list. It wasn't hard to dump, so I went ahead and did that. Finally, this is basically my last PC Engine dumped script, Toilet Kids. This is a game I'd run into years and years ago when I was playing through PC Engine ROMs, just kind of checking out the library. And I always thought it was ridiculous because it is ridiculous. It's a shoot 'em up game, but it's full of potty humor, right? Just very literally, you actually start off as this little kid. You get up in the middle of the night to go use the bathroom, and you open up the toilet lid and you get sucked away into this shoot 'em up world. I think you're literally like flying on a toilet and shooting like flies, and it's just, there's pee and poop, and it's just very, very toilet humor, right? And so it has a very small script. There's just a teeny bit of text to this. Mostly, I think, just right at the ending, once you beat the game, you meet the something like the Great Poopy, and he was trapped in poop. You free him from his poop prison, and he bestows upon you magic underpants. I think it's like you're a big boy now, basically, and you can wear the magical underpants of adulthood or something along those lines. It's not quite like Cho Aniki levels of WTF, I think, but it's pretty darn close. It's pretty silly, and kind of lowbrow, probably, but there could be some entertainment value to that. So anyway, Toilet Kids script does exist now in a dumped form. So yeah, I just enjoyed passing the time, um, dumping scripts. It's just a thing I can sit down and do. It doesn't take long. I can come out the other side of it with something accomplished. Within maybe an hour or less. Maybe a little more if it's like something kind of complicated. But it's just something I've enjoyed doing. It also means that like I have a bunch of scripts that I can pick away at if I want, when I want, as I want, and it also I feel like I've posted all of these scripts for the PC Engine in particular to the PC Engine Software Bibles forum. I just made a little thread there, and there's a post that has all of these linked in it. They're out there. I want them to just be out there. So if somebody's like, "Oh, hey, has anyone done a fan translation of Fushigi no Yume no Alice or Necros no Yosai or something," they can come here. They can get the script. They could translate it if they can do that. They can find somebody to hack it back into the game. Just whatever. It's available to people. So in terms of kind of more project-based work, I haven't done a whole lot. There has been a little bit of motion on some things though. So somebody posted to romhacking.net's forum that they were working on Patlabor for the Mega Drive. Now that's a game that I talked about in a previous video that I had dumped a script for, and I'd even started translating it a little bit. So I was particularly interested in that project, and I did post in that thread, and I said, hey, FYI, I did dump a script for this. I was planning to translate it, and they could kind of use a translator on the project. So I think we're going to try to work together. I told them, you're going to have to wait. This is not going to be a quick process. So maybe like next year sometime. Obviously we're getting further along in this year, but I'm thinking maybe in 2021. Maybe that's a project I could do some heavy lifting on. Another thing, like I think I had mentioned that I was doing some work for Pennywise, just kind of helping with just checking a script for, what was it, Vandal Hearts. So I submitted back to him a little bit of the work I did for that, and I was just going slowly. Like I said, I was just not motivated. So he found someone else to kind of keep going with that. So that's good. I hope I helped out some. But he expressed a little bit of interest in TM Network, and I told him, I'm like, that the translation for that is pretty much done. I basically just need to write out the draft, right, the first draft, and then maybe just kind of edit it. So I started working on that. I got the whole intro done nicely, like to my standards. So I thought that sounded good, and I just started. I'm not very far, in the script write for TM Network, but I started working on that. So I would like to see that. Hopefully, that's going to be a project here that I can maybe in the next. Who knows what month or something like that, if I could get that back to him, and then we could, maybe get that inserted and kind of start to play test it a little bit. That would be great. I'd like to see that project, get somewhere. Magic Knight Rayearth 2, I really put that on the back burner while I was just, not super motivated, so I was like dumping scripts and doing this and that. But I fully intended for that to be like my next top priority, not TM Network. So, I don't know. I think maybe TM Network is gonna kind of actually be my top priority for a couple weeks. But I'll just jump back into Magic Knight Rayearth 2 after that. I want that to be at least back in Supper's hands, by the end of this year. I will not really forgive myself if it's not. So that's gonna happen. I'm gonna planning to just hop right back into that. Now let's see. I think so. Zoids. There was a development on that, and I haven't really addressed that properly yet, so that it's a little up in the air. But someone else posted on romhacking.net that they've been doing hacking work on Zoids. Now I had been working with Donka on that, so I was like, uh-oh, did I forget to write in that help wanted thread that I had gotten help with it, and it's like, nope, I had written in the help wanted thread that Donko and I were working on it, and we were probably all set with it. Somebody just didn't see that and started working on it themselves. So, that's fine. I mean, I put the translated script out there specifically so that could happen. So I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is maybe check in with Donka, see what they think. But if this person is going ahead with the project and it seems like they're pretty far along with it, I'm at least going to point them at the YouTube videos that I did of playtesting a little bit, because I think that gave me some insights into the script. Just seeing some things in context, because that always helps. Sometimes that changes some things. And I just feel like one way or another, either between Donka and I, or this other person who I apologize, I didn't look their name up before I made this video. Maybe Zoids is coming along. There's sort of a two-pronged attack on it here. So I'd like to see that Zoids game get a translation patch. It's a cool little game. I don't think it's like a great game, but it's like a fun, cheesy B game, I think, and I like that. I think I'd agreed that when we were done with that, I was going to help Donka work on a Sherlock Holmes game, the other Sherlock Holmes game for the Famicom, I believe. And, if Zoids is off our plate, then I think maybe my next project after TM Network and Magic Knight Rayearth might be that Sherlock Holmes game. Maybe I just work on translating that Sherlock Holmes text adventure, and maybe Patlabor, back and forth, something like that. I think that might be kind of fun. So that's sort of another, maybe 2021 kind of project. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Again, like I really enjoy the process of this. I think that I'm less goal oriented with fan translation these days. I just I like the process. I like dumping scripts. I like using my translation memory that I've written, and I like studying Japanese too. I like using my Japanese and playing games in Japanese and translating games from Japanese. So that's just something I've chosen to do with my life, for better or worse. It's a thing that I do, and so I wanted to share this work with you guys. I hope that maybe you're interested in checking out some of these other videos that I made on like dumping some scripts, or if you're interested in any of these scripts becoming finished English language translation patches. You're just going to have to be patient, right? Unless you can help out. But certainly, if you can help out, of course, let me know too. I'd love to have people be like, hey, I could translate some of those PC Engine game scripts for you, and if you could help, try to find people to do the technical work on them, and we could get going with some of that stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys what I've been up to. I thought you'd be interested. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me again for more video game hacking and fan translation videos. Take care, guys.